Morning. I would like to call the August 8th, that's the day today, the August 8th Kankakee County Full Board meeting to order. Today's invocation is from Roger Hess.
Eternal God, we praise and thank you for calling us to serve as a voice for your people. Give each of us an anointing to help us not to seek power nor position, but rather make us a vessel of your grace to touch the lives of your people. Sorry. But rather make us a vessel of your grace to touch the lives of your people and seek to be worthy of your love. Lord, use us a channel of your compassion. Help us to be worthy of your trust, so that we may be an instrument of peace and hope to everyone. Give us the courage to be an agent of change and to achieve your dream of transformation. Father, we also ask that you watch over and protect all the emergency service personnel serving our county and state, along with those serving in the military at home and abroad that are protecting our nation. Finally, I ask that you heal our land and restore faith and righteousness to our nation. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're saved. Let's see here. If we could get a roll call, please. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Hess. Present. Mr. Tholen. Mrs. Polk.
Present.
Mr. Snipes. Present. Mr. Seroy. Mrs. Weber.
Present.
Mrs. Parker.
Present.
Mr. Fairfield.
Present.
Mr. Carrico. Present. Mr. Eckhoff. Present. Mr. Swanson. Present. Mr. Featherling. Present. Mr. Dunnell. Present. Mr. Miller. Present. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Present. Mr. Hunter. Present. Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand.
Present.
Ms. Foster.
Present.
Ms. Andrade.
Present.
Ms. Armour Earps.
Present.
Mr. Ashcraft.
Present.
Ms. Monday.
Present.
Ms. Ripmanick-Emmy.
Present.
Mr. Scanlon. Mr. Turner. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Let's see here. Ms. Earps, do you expect this to be an extended period? I know you're recovering from elbow.
No, I'll be back next week.
Okay, we just need a motion then to admit Mr. Smith and Mrs. Earps for this meeting. Fairfield, Featherling, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You say Featherfield like Bennifer. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Everybody's here. Dr. Polk's already been voted in. Let's see here. Public commentary. I don't have anything in front. Is there any public commentary? No vacancy appointments. I do have a proclamation that I would like to see if Dan could read in the record, please.
Proclamation of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, honoring Coroner Robert Bob Gessner for being named the Eastern Illinois Law Enforcement Administrators Association Criminal Justice 2023 Executive of the Year. Whereas Robert Bob Gessner commenced his service to the people of Kankakee County in 1969 when he began his career as a firefighter for the city of Kankakee. And whereas Robert Bob Gessner served the city of Kankakee as firefighter for 30 years until his retirement in 1999. And whereas Robert Bob Gessner first joined the Kankakee County Coroner's Office in 1984 as a part-time deputy coroner. And whereas Robert Bob Gessner served as a deputy coroner until 1999 when he was named chief deputy coroner by Coroner Dr. Robert Kelly. And whereas Robert Bob Gessner was named Kankakee County Coroner by the Kankakee County Board upon the retirement of Dr. Kelly in 2003 and was first elected coroner in 2004, winning re-election in 2008, 2012, 2016, and 2020. And whereas Robert Bob Gessner has modernized the coroner's office, overseeing the design and construction of the Brian R. Mitchell, MD Forensic Center, and by educating countless students and citizens about the dangers of opioids and all street drugs, and has been honored to serve on numerous boards and commissions contributing to the welfare of Kankakee County, leading to his being named the Eastern Illinois Law Enforcement Administrators Association Executive of the Year for 2023. And whereas Robert Bob Gessner has made service to the people of Kankakee County and the state of Illinois his life's work. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Kankakee County Board greatly appreciates his service to his community and the many contributions to the safety and welfare of the people of Kankakee County. And July is hereby proclaimed as Coroner Robert Bob Gessner Month in the county of Kankakee.
Well, we're gonna make that August because we were gonna do this last month, but Affairs of State pulled the coroner away. So is there a motion to approve this? We'll go with Mr. Hunter. We'll go second with Mr. Eckhoff. Is there any comments? Mr. Hunter, start with.
Just mention, I've known Bob for, oh my God, Bob and I are probably older than dirt in terms of public service. But I do remember as a neophyte alderman, I think maybe my first term, 1973, Bob and Nate White. I was raising some funds for scholarships. And I remember back in college, you know, my rent was $30 a month, if you can believe that. So that's ancient history. But anyway, I make that point to say that Bob and Nate White bestowed me $500 for a scholarship. Now, back in 1973, 1977, that was a lot of money, mucho dinero. Anytime we needed any kind of assistance, information from the Kankakee Fire Department, Bob Gessner is always there. His family is amazing family who have provided public service for decades. His wife essentially ran the water company. If you needed anything from the water company, he always called his bride. And not only in terms of summer jobs, employment, bottles of water for Summerfest and different activities. You know, the Gessners were the go-to people for service, assistance, financial contributions to the community. Did make a difference, your political persuasion, but the Gessners were always there. Now Chad, you know, is following his dad's footsteps in terms of public service. But, you know, I think it's fitting and proper that we honor Bob now as opposed to when he's going up to heaven. But anyway, Bob, congratulations. Congratulations on this worthwhile acknowledgement for the county board. And God bless you and your entire family.
Well, that took a turn. Mr. Snipes, I believe. Mr. Snipes, you had something?
Yeah, just if in the whereas Bob Gessner, before I make a comment, it has been honored. If we can put like a was honored to serve, because that has been sticks out, and his many contributions in that last sentence, just to clean it up a little bit, since you're giving it to Robert, my namesake. Yes, and I would also like to say with Bob, Robert, that's a good name, but I had the occasion to work with alongside of Bob when there was a murder that had happened, and they needed a chaplain to kind of console the family at that particular time. Because they were up in arms, and Bob was on the scene. He asked would I do it, and certainly that was a case. He was on the scene himself, and it was just kind of like an honor to be there. Anytime that we have questions or needed him to come to the schools or anything of that nature, he was always willing, and one thing that he has a signature on is that he has the Bob Gessner smile, which is contagious. And so I say thank you for your service and a well-honored and well-deserved award.
Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Monday.
Yes, I just would like to say I was introduced to Bob in the 1990s. And so in the words of my husband, Ed Monday, Bob Gessner is a great guy. So thank you, Bob, for your service and continued good health.
Yes. And I will say, you know, we'll have this produced into the normal format and present that with you at a later date. We just want to make sure the right month was going to appear because we didn't know if we were going to get called out again. Yes. Such is the nature of your job. So we have a motion and a second. I guess all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Thank you, Bob, for your service. We appreciate it. All right, moving on. We have a couple more certificates of appreciation. It's Jacqueline Harkar from the Sheriff's Department of Corrections. The sheriff is here for that.
Good morning. I would also like to mention that the award Bob received last month is very well deserved. It's a pleasure to work alongside him, and he does so many great things for this county that we don't even know about. So, Bob, thank you. So, 15 years for Officer Jacqueline Harkar. Many of you may remember she was in front of this board a couple months ago. She was involved in the life-saving efforts of an inmate who was trying to commit suicide. Jacqueline, Officer Harkar, is the epitome of what a correctional officer should be. She cares about her co-workers. She cares about her the inmates. Many people look at us and say, you know, why do you treat them so good and all that? You know, it's about humanity. And Officer Harkar knows what that means, and she is a great example for our younger correctional officers. She is an FTO, a field training officer, so she trains all of our younger officers coming in, and there's nobody better in our department or a finer example of somebody who should be training new correctional officers who are coming in. So I'm honored to present her with this 15-year certificate. I hope she sticks around 15 more years. So, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We also have, oh geez. I'm just kidding. He's a wonderful guy, actually a good friend. Deputy Todd Hunley, 30 years
Sergeant.
with the Sheriff's Department.
Sergeant. Sergeant.
Yeah, he's a sergeant. I thought that was wrong. Yes. Sorry about that. I won't live that down.
So this is twice the length of time that Officer Harkar's been here. Todd's been with the county for 30 years. Actually 32, because he actually started part-time with the River Patrol way back in the day. I think I might have still been in grade school. No, I'm just kidding. But his career, and I know Craig Long is not here, but Ray Fairfield, who was a patrol commander, I know can speak to it as well. Todd has done a great job for the county, for the citizens of this community. He served in addition to the River Patrol as he started, he served in our Tri-County Auto Theft Task Force for a number of years, and then moved into investigations where he was involved in a number of high-profile crimes that happened, unfortunately, in Kankakee County. He is currently the shift commander of our afternoon shift as a sergeant, and our department is a better place with Todd here, and we're trying to keep him around a little longer, but I'm not sure I'm that convincing. So, Todd, it's a pleasure to serve with you. It's been a pleasure to serve with you for all these years, and for what's left to come, hopefully another 10, but we'll try and see how that goes. But Todd, thank you, 30 years. Awesome. I did give Todd the opportunity to say a few words and he declined, so.
Alrighty, moving on to minutes of the last meeting, July 11th, 23. Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Parker, Ms. Monday, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Let's see here, Claims Committee reports.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee on county claims have begged leave to report they've examined the following claims presented and recommend payment. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to issue orders to the several claimants. Total of $12,545,981.68.
Right, is there a motion from Finance, Mr. Eckhoff? Second, Mr. Fairfield. Any questions, concerns? Mr. Snipes.
Yeah, looking through these, there is on the second page where you have the Iroquois Mental Health Center. If you can correct that word from profit to profit, it'll be appreciated.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield.
Aye.
Mr. Kirko.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Donnell. Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter. Mr. Smith.
You're on mute, Mr. Smith. You have to pass.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade.
Aye.
Ms. Armour Earps.
Aye.
Mr. Ashcraft.
Aye.
Ms. Monday.
Aye.
Ms. Ripmanick-Emmy.
Aye.
Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Under department reports.
County Collector's Monthly Report for June 2023. Total cash and bank and investments of $7,088,088.24. Treasurer's Monthly Report for month ending June 30th, 2023. Tax operating account at First American Bank. The ending balance is $5,485,188.16. The tax collection account at First American Bank. The ending balance is $1,123,988.21. The tax e-pay account at First American Bank. The ending balance is $478,911.87. The addendum to the treasurer's report for a total of $114,953,887.14. Coroner's Monthly Report for June 2023. Total calls 101, coroner's cases 8, autopsies 4, toxicology 4, 2 fetal, 63 hospice, 28 referrals, 64 cremations, 2 x-rays, 1 outside autopsy, 1 outside x-ray, 4 pending. The coroner's income summary report for June 2023, total of $2,789.77. Circuit clerk cash book for month ending June 30th, 2023. Total disbursed of $327,757.35. Recorder's monthly report disbursement for June 2023. Disbursement fees paid to the county treasurer of $138,614.10. County clerk's monthly report for June 2023. Total of $24,272.30. Monthly building division report for June 2023. Total permits of 93. Total fees of $66,528. Animal control monthly report for June 2023. Total of $43,821.32. Total animals handled 88. Monthly resolution list for August 2023. Total to the county of $7,192.10.
Is there a motion to combine and approve there?
Oh.
Mr. Dunhill, Dr. Polk with a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to consent. Is there anything on there that needs to be considered separately? Wait for a moment.
There's no money being spent through 189, right? That's intergovernmental. Is there any money being allocated?
Those are all roll call votes anyway. Final time, is there anything that's got to come off? Do we have a motion to combine and approve? Mrs. Weber, Mr. Featherling with a second, if we could read them in the record.
The appointment of David DeYoung as chairman of the Kankakee County Zoning Board of Appeals. The appointment of Willie Ames as vice chairman of the Kankakee County Zoning Board of Appeals. The appointment of Michael Manow to the Kankakee County Zoning Board of Appeals. The appointment of Christine Kirchner to the Essex Township Fire Protection District. Reappointment of Eric Blair as the Kankakee County Supervisor of Assessments. Reappointment of Charlene Parr as to the Kankakee River Valley Forest Preserve District Board. The authority for County Board Chairman to sign an intergovernmental cooperation agreement between Kankakee County and the Village of Bourbonnais for Historic Preservation Program. And historic landmark nomination for Bourbonnais Grove's First Log Schoolhouse.
Right. And when you're ready, just a roll call.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Dunhill. Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith. One.
Just going.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Earps.
Aye.
Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday.
Aye.
Ms. Rittmanick-Emmy. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Now, before we get a motion on this next item, there's two versions of this in the packet. I put the version that was passed at the Finance Committee, and then there's an updated version that has another option. Obviously, I feel it's a much better option, and so does Mr. McCarty. And I'd spoken with Mr. Eckhoff about this offline, and we're bringing it to the board now rather than waiting another month, because there would be interest savings that we would lose for 1 month. So basically, you're looking at the original defeasance, which is basically the abating of the bonds. Those are things that are levied, but we're not going to collect those. That was $772,000. Actually, yeah, it was $772,000 was the original amount. I've always wanted to pay that, and that would be two equal amounts, the one this year and one next year. I've always wanted to pay it all off in 1 year, and we finally got through the audit and were able to make a judgment and talking with Steve that we could pay it all off in 1 year, and this is the 2009 bond. And that amount would be the savings to the taxpayers would be $1.735 million. So we're basically adding another $1 million of savings on for the taxpayers. That's just going to fall right off of their property tax bill. So just to better explain that a little bit, I made some notes on the paperwork in there. The cash out of pocket that'll go out the door is $1.529 million, as you see in your packet. And then there's interest savings on it that brings it up to that 1.7 number. So what that equates to is on a $200,000 house, the taxpayers are going to save almost $500. That's something that is not even going to be collected. That's the median value of a house that's being sold right now in the market in Kankakee County. The median value of a house in general is about $150,000. So that I put that number on there as well. That's just under $400 bucks, $365. So this is a substantial savings to the taxpayer, property taxpayer. So I just wanted to get that all out in front of everybody, and I'm hoping somebody will make the motion for the second one. Is that correct? Mr. Eckhoff, a second. Mr. Swanson. Is there any discussion on this? I just want to make sure. Mr. Eckhoff first.
I just want to recognize you and Steve for having these discussions. Steve saying that this works with our cash flow, and just a kudos to everybody involved.
Yeah, thank you. It's we didn't want to make this. We thought we could do it. We didn't want to make the judgment too soon because you never know a turn in the economy. Heaven forbid some other catastrophic event. We don't want to live through what we lived through before. So, Mr. Hunter, and we'll go Mr. Snipes. He had his hand up first, and then we'll go over here. No, Mr. Snipes first.
Mm-hmm. Just a question, because this was approved by the Finance Committee, do we need to just amend their their motion, or are we just going to make a new? We're just doing a new motion and just approving the second choice.
He just made the motion for the second choice. That's what's on the floor now is the second choice.
Yeah, that's what I saw, but it was saying that we had approved it, and they approved it in the Finance Committee, so we're just amending.
Mr. Hunter, do you have something?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The points that you just articulated shouldn't be gone unnoticed by the 107,000 people who reside in the corporate authority of the county of Kankakee. I was hoping that you would do a press release or regarding that, because I think that that's incumbent upon you as the leader of this organization, provide informational data, and I always tell folks facts don't lie, empirical evidence, and there's a savings to the taxpayers which you articulated based on the homes that they own, et cetera. I mean, that's something that we will save on our taxes, and I think it's fitting and proper that maybe that be reduced to writing and provided to the media to convey to our citizens that the county government is working to provide resources to its residents.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on this option, this choice, what it means to you? Okay, just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to comment on that. I think that's it. Actually, we got a motion in a second. Let's roll call vote.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Dunnell.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade.
Aye.
Ms. Armour Earps.
Aye.
Mr. Ashcraft.
Aye.
Ms. Monday.
Aye.
Ms. Rittmanick-Emmy.
Aye.
Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And also keep in mind that we will be abating another bond next year. It's the final payment for the jail. So all of that public safety complex, as I mentioned, then will be functionally debt-free. There's still the bond out there for animal control that's fines and fees dedicated towards paying that, but we have no debt as of the end of next year, so that's a good thing. Okay, moving on. Make sure I get everything in order. Oh, we got some openings.
One opening on the McGillivray Special Drainage District, one opening on the Kankakee Area Fire Protection District, one opening on the Kankakee County Sheriff Merit Commission, one opening on the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee for a veterinarian, 7 openings on the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee.
All right. Next item of new business is an amending resolution. I believe this is so Ben can submit a grant that we're helping out with. Yeah, come on up, Ben, and kind of explain it.
Good morning. So, as you may recall, in April of this year, we brought forward kind of an omnibus motion through Senator Joyce's office. We received several line item appropriations representing multiple communities within Kankakee County, and as many of them don't have maybe the capacity to handle the grants, we're leading kind of the charge at the county level. And we put together the document based on a previous intergovernmental agreement we had done with Hopkins Park when we were working on the pipeline project. So it was pretty nuts and bolts, pretty stripped. The state came back and said, here, as a pass-through, you're required to have certain things. So what we have today is an amendment to that agreement. So we agreed in principle in April that the chairman would be able to sign these agreements. We wanted to bring forward to the board today all of that additional included language. So they requested information like records, retention, term, grant amount. So we made sure to highlight the amount of funds, the grant number, identify that this agreement will be in place the entire term of that grant agreement, that the park district in this instance will allow us to access their records and audits as far as reporting is concerned for the grant. So it allows us to have everything that we needed in order to manage their grant and all of the things that the state is asking us to have included in there.
And is this going to be a template for the other IGAs that we have with those other 10 small communities that you're working with?
Yeah, so it'll be the replace Kankakee Valley Park District with Village of, with Town of. Right. So all of these things, the grant numbers will change, the grant amounts will change, but the state has identified this as a pass-through entity agreement. We're essentially making funds that we receive in grant form available to another jurisdiction, so they're asking that we have this agreement in place like it's a direct pass-through. Right. Obviously, we will still, for our accounting purposes, we will make sure that all of the activities are tied directly to the grant agreement, that all of the rules that we're supposed to be following, we're following, and we will not make any payment to those jurisdictions until that's satisfied. But this allows us to take kind of the next step with the state.
Sorry to ask so many questions. This is because this came in at the very end and as an amendment. There is a blank on here. Jim just pointed out. Do you know what goes in that blank? Maybe John can answer it because he put it together.
Yeah, I would suppose we as the grantee, so I guess county or grantee could be or I guess we grantor.
Parties. And the parties will support these efforts.
Okay, so we just make it parties and remove part.
Is that acceptable that with the motion in the second? Okay, we're putting parties in there. Did we get a motion in a second on this one yet?
I don't have it. No.
Okay, all right, I'm putting it in there, then we'll get one in just a second. Want to make sure that this is explained. The other thing is, this is from the 7 million, correct? Or is this a separate? No,
this is the separate. This is the,
because the amounts are the same.
Yeah, this is the 11 line item appropriations that. So in last year's budget from the state of Illinois, we received, under Senator Joyce, it says, "And Kankakee County shall receive," and it lists all of those. So we get money for some things that we're doing, and all of our communities were listed. They moved that into the next year's budget. So these are individually listed, and then the other thing in there, we have a whole separate paragraph for our 7 million. So we have our 7 million. We had other activities we're taking on. We have got some things that the chairman's been working on, and then these are all listed in a separate block. So this is the other money.
Okay. All right. It's confusing because appropriations are being managed like grants. Some of ours are being managed through DNR. That's what made me question, why is DCO on this? You see what I mean?
Yeah,
That's why I had that. And by the way, they're both for 150,000 for work on the ramp.
Yeah, there's just so much money available. We're scrambling to keep track of all of it, but just for the edification of the board, we've taken $150,000 out of the 7 million major river maintenance grant to also commit to Beckman Wall Harbor. So the park district received 150,000, and we're committing 150,000 to 7 million.
No, not the harbor. It's the boat launch.
The wall.
The wall on the boat launch. We're not involved in the harbor at all. We need to get equipment in the river, and that's out of the current. That's why instead of building something, we're gonna help them fix theirs to get into the water. We're not doing anything with the harbor. I want that clear.
Okay, so yeah,
Sorry.
it's the wall. We're
Yeah.
repairing I would call it a sea wall, but it's not on the sea, so it's a river wall. Yeah, we're committed to that project, and part of that is, to the chairman's point, as we need access up and down the river to do maintenance, having partnership agreements like this where we'll have another access point that we'll have access to get our equipment in and out of, because we're going to need several of them up and down the river because of low-hanging trees, bridges in the way, power lines in the way. So we'll be kind of jumping in and out of different locations to do the maintenance we need to do, and this is part of that partnership.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to clear that up in my own head first. A lot of grants out there. Any other? Okay, is there a motion here? We'll start with Ms. Foster. A second, Mr. Featherling. All right. Comments, questions,
Comment.
Mr. Hunter.
Would you happen to interface with the chairman of the park board and the executive director? I was before that board a couple of months ago regarding my namesake out in Marycrest, and they cut back my parking lot. And I was advocating to the city of Kankakee for ARPA funds. I had a meeting, Theodis Pace and I had a meeting with the executive director of the park district about different activities and so forth. And she says, you know, Steve, I'm really sad and we're not eligible for ARPA funds. It's no, you are. You sure? I said, well, this is what I do. That's what I do. I make it a point to know the facts and base my opinions on facts and data. And so, to make a long story short, the city of Kankakee allocated $300,000 of ARPA funds to the Kankakee Valley Park District, much to the surprise of Dana Heights and the chairman of the park board. But anyway, I just want to let you know that I will vote affirmatively for this to assess the wall, as you've indicated, and advise them that Hunter is a team player, and he'd like a quid pro quo at some point. You know, my parking lot was cut back substantially. I didn't understand why, but anyway, please convey to them my positive sentiments about intergovernmental cooperation.
I guess if I could, just for the edification of the room, we have been in contact with Miss Heights and her team, and they've seen this language, and they seem to be accepting of the language.
Oh, I'm sure.
we have an expectation they will also pass a similar agreement, and so the action today is just allowing Andy to sign said agreement if it's something that they're amenable to. I don't expect that we'll have any obstacles at the park board level, but it's something that we'll continue to work through the project to make sure that all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Mr. Featherling first.
Is there a completion time or a estimated time when they're going to construct repair the wall?
They're out there right now.
Oh, they're right now? I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
the ramp will be open back up for fall?
No, as far as time goes, I don't know, but I mean, they're out there working on it now. I just saw them the other day. Yeah. Fishing with the boy.
I guess maybe as another point of clarification, these activities are reimbursement activities according to the state of Illinois. So the work must be done, and that's where we, as the fiscal agent, will make sure that all of the requirements are met. So when the state comes through with the grant agreement and says you have to do certain things, we'll be working with all of these entities from a pass-through standpoint to make sure we kind of get given some of the state's responsibility as the lead agency to meet these. We'll make sure any of our sub-recipients or pass-throughs will meet those same requirements. So yeah, they're currently, they had went to bid, and they're currently constructing, and we'll make sure that everything's aligned with that before to protect us as a grant recipient.
And by the way, none of these have any administration on them at all. So yeah, we're doing this all for free for all these communities, which is fine for right now, but Ben's not free. So if this goes on, we'll have to talk about that, because there is, I'm not talking 50%, but we may need to ask, hey, can you give us 1% for management of this grant? Because his time does cost. So, and as you see, there's more than just filling out a piece of paper. Ms. Foster, please.
Chairman, I just wanted to thank Ben for his hard work going back and forth. There's been a lot of meetings and Zoom calls to get the language right so that Chairman, you can sign off on the paperwork. And Hopkins Park, we're excited. We've been waiting on this for a long time to get started on the pipeline, and this is part of that pipeline to get the money. So thank you once again, Ben, on that.
Anyone else? Alrighty, we have a motion and a second. Let's do roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield.
Aye.
Mr. Kirko.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Dunnell. Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Long-term contract for Ben,
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Earps.
Aye.
Mr. Ashcraft.
Aye.
Ms. Monday.
Aye.
Ms. Rittman-McEmmie. Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Hey, that was another vote.
Barking up the wrong tree.
So the last item, if we can get the title read in the record, please.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, authorizing the expenditures of America Rescue Plan Act funds, fiscal year 2023, Fund 98, Limestone Fire Protection District, grapple hook boat repair. To correct the Scribner's error.
That's what I was looking for. Okay, the recipient on the original was incorrect under now therefore be it resolved. So we're just fixing the recipient. Motion? Mr. Fairfield, Mr. Swanson, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Yeah. Motion carries. Now, hold on just 1 second here. I think we have to do roll call because it is spending money, even though we roll called the first one. I don't want it to come back again. Please roll call. Thank you.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber. Mrs. Parker. Mr. Fairfield.
Aye.
Mr. Kirko.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Donnell. Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade.
Aye.
Ms. Armour Earps.
Aye.
Mr. Ashcraft.
Aye.
Ms. Monday.
Aye.
Ms.
Aye.
Rittman-McEmmie. Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Dan will be the first item of new business, or second item, excuse me. Wait, new, other. I guess this would be other at this point. I apologize. There'll be a special county board meeting. We now have, we had enough requests to do that with the county clerk. That will be on 8/23, right after finance, so 9:30 or after finance, whenever finance ends. There'll be a full county board meeting. Please attend. We need to get people in the room. If you have any questions, give me a shout. But we have to get together before the end of the month in the next meeting. It is somewhat important. Let's see here. Okay, any more new business? Mr. Eckhoff first. Yes.
Number 9. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to go ahead and recognize, I saw in the newspaper yesterday, I want to recognize a fellow board member for being a grand marshal to a iconic parade in Herscher, and I just wanted to go ahead and have Ms. Weber be recognized for that.
Congratulations.
Thank
Do they
you.
give you one of those marchy things? I don't know what that is.
Probably got a candy cane.
Back of a golf cart, which has its benefits. Yes. All right. Miss Monday.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Recently, something has come to my attention, and I wanted to share it with the board members because I believe it needs to be brought to the forefront. So I'd like to address you with this concern. You know, I think that as a rule, as members of this board, we all try to follow the rules, right? All 28 of us took an oath in December to do the right thing for our districts, not for us personally, but for the county and for our districts. So part of that includes we have to live in our districts, right? We have to participate and represent our districts as best as possible. So as we all know, this has created a problem for our chair over time, and meeting after meeting, and after listening to rants and grandstanding by the District 18 representative challenging Mr. Wheeler's residency, and thousands of dollars later, everything was proven no problem. So since I was sworn in last December, District Representative number 18 has wasted my time and our time with his bombastic behavior and empty rhetoric in multiple meetings. And the whole time, Chad, would you run this up to Kelly, please? The whole time, I want you to understand, Representative for District number 18, Mr. Snipes, has not lived in his district. The entire time that we've had to sit here and endure repetitive comments, he was breaking this rule and living at the Red Roof Inn. So I didn't believe it. When this came to my attention last month, I thought this cannot be possible. So just on a whim yesterday morning, I drove through the parking lot at the Red Roof Inn because I was out at a meeting. And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna drive through. And sure enough, sitting in front of a room right here was Mr. Snipes' car. Now, you'll see over the next couple dozen slides here, Mr. Snipes' car remains at the Red Roof Inn. All these photos taken by different people who sit on this board at different dates and times. So, for over 1 year, Mr. Snipes has not been representing his district. He has not been living in the district. He has been living at the Red Roof Inn. This is very easy to prove. He has clearly vacated his seat, and I am calling for his immediate resignation so that someone who lives in District 18 can then sit in that seat right over here and represent the people who live there. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other new business? Mr. Snipes.
I'll take the liberty to respond to someone's inaccurate information that's not even based upon the law. But with this being said, individuals have brought to my attention that when they are at different restaurants, they're charged certain fees, 3.4, sometimes $2 on a $6 purchase. And a lot of times these fees are not, they're not displayed, but yet they're being charged at eateries and others, this additional bank fee. While I see that they pass it on to the consumers, the cost of doing business, it is my concern and the concern of the constituents that these fees be limited only to what the bank charge and not any additional fees, which is reasonable. They should not be charged anything other. If this is a bank fee, then it should just be the bank fee and nothing more or nothing less. Other than that, they're profiting off of these fees, which is then questionable as to whether or not they are within the confines of the law. The second issue is Hippocrates has filed, I believe, for the ARPA funds in some kind of way. They have been denied. It's my understanding that either Recon or Recor is one of the overseers or administrators to basically help individuals to get their ducks in a row to be able to apply for these particular funds. I don't know why they are being turned down, but I do know that they have contacted me, and so therefore we can look into it. If you have the information as to why they're being denied the ARPA funds, please reach out to me as far as that's concerned, so that we can either find a way to redress the situation or address it. And then lastly, where I stay temporarily is really of nobody's business. No, I don't have to resign because I still own the property, which is my home at 1371. So you are incorrect that it was a whole year or whatever, but there are some things that is being repaired or whatever. State Farm is taking care of that as we basically speak. So if you don't, there's an old adage, if you don't have correct information, you'll use your imagination to disseminate misinformation. I'm glad that you are putting the GIS up on my vehicle. It can be parked anywhere, but I have never changed my permanent abode. I vote at 1371 East Maple. I live at 1371 East Maple. I pay taxes at 1371 and 1368, which is a lot across the street. So if you have questions, comments, or concerns before you open your mouth and exert your foot and ask for my resignation, please contact me. I will be more than glad to explain that to you.
Any other, Mr. Hunter?
Let me speak to the comments that Mr. Snipes mentioned regarding the Hippocrates submission of ARPA funds. I happen to serve on the evaluation team that reviews the submissions that that have been brought forth by various organizations and various entities. If I may recall, and those individuals who serve on that committee may be able to piggyback on my comments. It's my understanding that the submission that was presented, in fact, I serve on the Hippocrates board presently. No one would admit to being the authors of that submission that was submitted to the county. If my memory serves me correctly, out of all the submissions that were entered or submitted to the county, that was the worst submission of all the submissions that were presented. There were numerous faux pas with respect to adhering to the guidelines that were prescribed by Recone Family Services, adopted by the county board. If I do remember correctly again, and the chairman and Rosemary and Carol and those other, Amber can speak to this. You know, I usually base my votes on empirical evidence, facts, and data. I remember all of us saying, well, they have not complied with the guidelines, therefore they will be ineligible for the ARPA funds. This was not an arbitrary or capricious determination. Those of us who served on the evaluation team took copious notes in all the submissions. We did not allocate funds based upon the submissions. We reviewed, we vetted, we cut, we amended, and made a determination, and that information was brought back forth to the county board for review. So all I'm saying to you, Mr. Snipes, with respect to the articulation that was presented to you by, I assume, the chairman of that particular board, they failed to comply with the guidelines set forth by this board.
Yes, Ms. Turner.
I can just confirm what Steve said. They actually submitted only one copy out of 6. They only submitted one copy out of 6, and they didn't provide the flash drive. So the first page identified all the requirements to be viewed, and they didn't even submit the requirements. And they had plenty of time. They submitted theirs on 1/11, and the requirements weren't due till 1/18. So they didn't even submit all of the required documents.
Okay. That one's off. Go with Ms. Andrade first time.
So I had sat here already since November, and Mr. Rowe had gave us a presentation with Andy of all of that was going on, a slideshow. Do you remember it? Now, what we just found out of information with Robert Snipes, I have to live in my district. I don't have a choice. So what do we have to do to find out if he does or doesn't?
I mean, I think you can ask them, how many nights a week do you sleep in the home in your district, and how long have you been staying at the Red Roof Inn?
For one, I'm not up under any authority, really up under any obligation to have to convey that, but I will for the purpose. I've stayed at 1371 since 1993. There's a raccoon or whatever that got in, and so therefore, as we are cleaning and getting things done, the motel, not a new address, but a motel, is where I stayed. So as a result, I don't have to. Long as I can move to New York, if we're gonna go with the Mayhem case with Rahm Emanuel, long as I don't change my permanent abode, then I can live in Canada for all I care, but my permanent abode is at 1371 East Maple. It has not changed. My cars are still there. All of my stuff has not been moved over. The majority of my belongings is at 1371, which is really nobody's business because I'm not. If you decide that I'm not there or whatever, then you turn around and prove that. I'm always at my house. The grass is being cut. Who pays that? You? No, I do. So the makeup of my house, the property taxes on my house, and any other bills in my house is paid by Robert Ellington Snipes and not Monday. So as a result, that is my permanent abode, and legally, I don't have to turn around and explain it to you. There is no legal basis for it. So that's my house.
So you have a non-answer, and
I do, because I had to sit here since December, listening to 2 people go back and forth about residents, and I'm tired of it. I want to move on from this. We have other things in the community that we have to resolve, and we're not moving forward.
Yep.
So now we're back to square one again, and everything he just said just sounded like contradicting himself, because it was the same thing that was going on, and you had to present us with a slideshow.
Well, he agrees now with that Maxim case, which is the Rahm Emanuel case, which is enlightening. I'm happy to hear that, because you're right about the interpretation of that case. But I think the issue is somewhat the hypocrisy, because for months you challenged the chairman on where he was sleeping, and it turns out you weren't sleeping in your district. So legally, is there anything that we can do to remove him? The county board does not have that authority. There's no impeachment process for a county board member. You can't vote to just remove them because they have been elected. But you could file a petition for quo warranto, which I can provide you with that information. You would make a request, as Mr. Snipes did. You would make a request to file suit to my office, to the Attorney General's office. We would then have an investigation done, like was conducted when those allegations were made against the chairman. You know, it would take resources, unfortunately, again. And then you'd be given the right to sue, and you could file suit, or the Attorney General could be asked to file suit as well.
Right.
So it's the same process that was requested with regard to the chairman. They did an investigation. When the Attorney General's office reviewed all the evidence they had, all the interviews, all the documents, they declined to go forward, but they did provide the parties with the right to sue. I imagine it would be similar in this instance.
Second time, Miss Monday.
Second time.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to point out that Webster's dictionary describes the word abode, which Mr. Snipes has used repeatedly, as a place of residence. And that would, to me, mean when you go to bed every night, 27 of us are going to bed and going to sleep in our district. And for over a year, easily proven, again, easily proven through the hotel, Mr. Snipes has not been sleeping in his district. It is not his abode. He pays his taxes, he mows his lawn. That does not mean that he is living there 24/7, 365, because he is not. Thank you.
I need to go first time. I didn't see Mr. Dunno over here, and then we'll go back to Mr. Snipes second time.
So I just simply want to echo and appreciate Ms. Monday and Ms. Andrade bringing this up. Frankly, I wrote some notes about asking for resignation 6-8 months ago, just based on behavior. And I know that we have no standing, but I definitely wanted this board to know my thoughts and where I stand. So I definitely agree with them at this point.
Second time, Mr. Snipes.
Thank you. I will, because you decide you want to open up the can of worms, so let's open it. There's a distinguishable difference. I have not moved out of my district. I still own my home in 1371. A motel is not a place of ownership. It's a place that you rent. Then you stated that I was there for a year. You might be correct in that over a span of a year from time to time, I've been in and out. But for a whole entire year, I'd like to see where you got your information from, because I'll call you a liar and then the other individual's a liar. So get your facts, bring them to Mr. Snipes, or do like Mr. Rose suggests, do your quo warranto. And I'll be more than glad to turn around and answer any questions in the court of law if you have standing. But the difference between me and Mr. Willer is very simple. November 6th, he moved out. We never declared the vacancy. There is no, according to FOIA, there is no letter of resignation on November 6th, nor on March 8th when we reinstalled them. Number two, we had to go with section 2511. That was not done. Before we could ever declare the vacancy, because he left on a Friday, which was his last day, the first county board meeting would have been November 10th. To declare the vacancy. They were already on the November 10th ballot, which means we were in violation of 2511. But if you want to turn around and go down that road, I'll be more than happy. And I never said that I left and moved into a new district. I still take the calls. I still have to deal with District 18, and certainly I get more calls probably than you do with your district or whatever on an everyday basis. As far as District 18 is concerned, I basically represent them and represent them well. They see me more often than they'll probably see you in my district.
I think one distinguishing feature in this, if you want to compare apples to apples, it's really not that. Under the law, when you stay in a hotel for over 30 days, it's considered a residence, because that's the threshold where they stop paying the hotel tax to the CVB. Because at that point, the law considers that someone has established a residency after the 30th day and not just renting. So I do think, if you submit that request, it will be looked into.
Is there anybody
Excuse
else?
me, can I speak?
First time, Ms. Serps, yes.
Thank you. I guess my main concern is that he was not living in his district at the time that the voting took place, that his people put him in another role of being 18. I mean, he was being misleading at that time. We all had to give our information on where we were staying. I just don't feel like he was completely honest with his district, that he wasn't staying at his home. I have a problem with honesty in that.
Any other first times? Second times? Good times? Sorry. Okay. Well then, moving on. If there is anything else that somebody would...
Somebody had
some. Motion to adjourn there. A second. Mr. Featherling. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.